So my name is Dobi, Vaibhav Dobrial. I'm a co-founder and chief product officer at Lumic. At Lumic for the past 11 years, the only thing that we have been doing is data and AI. So when the generative AI wave came, with our super specialization and focus on financial services, we were one of the first few in AWS ecosystem to not just get the generative AI competency, but also start seeing use cases beyond the obvious ones, which I no longer call generative AI. Your Q&As, your chatbots, your summarizations. In my mind, they are all commoditized now. So what we started looking at is, if we were to create a substantial business impact, how do we use this tech? You have to look at the whole business processes. And with that thought process, our journey started. And when agentic architectures and the thought process started emerging, it was obvious that we started moving in this direction. So today, in this session, what I wanted to share with you is what we have done with a life insurance company in India and what has been our experience doing it, and more importantly, how do we visualize this architecture being put in place. It's not a Gyan session. I'm sure there's a lot of Gyan available. What we are sharing with you is how we have visualized the stack functionally, how we have executed it, and how we have a factory now with two critical components. One, verticalized SLMs. So we have a domain-focused SLM, which I'm going to launch as part of LiteCone today. And then, more importantly, a structure to run it at scale. Oh, good, thank you. I didn't realize it's up. So it's called LiteCone, and what we are introducing today is AI knowledge workers, which we believe are going to be the foundation stones of creating an agentic enterprise. I already mentioned we have been around doing data and AI only for 11 plus years, a strong focus on financial services, 50 plus customers. You would see a deep penetration of customers of large and small sizes, but all of it in financial service industry mostly. What's also important about our relationship is how we operate in AWS ecosystem. We have been together with AWS for 8 plus years now. In the regulated industry, the first customer to move was 8 years back, and since then we have been continuously working. As you would expect, there are multiple competencies. What's more important is the customer centricity common between both AWS and us. And as you would expect, AWS, we have the relationship acknowledged in terms of awards and relationships. In terms of our strength, I would say 3 key things: our FSI knowledge, our data and AI skills, and our AWS experience. Now coming back to what I was talking about, we are used to working in this industry in a way. Let's take an example. I'm talking about insurance underwriting, but you could map it to any process. A lot of people come in, right from business user, business analyst, technical guys, trying to understand how a business process works. We encode it into a system. The system will typically have a workflow. It will have a business rule engine or a machine learning algorithm working, a UI app to interact with it. You would feed it a new application when you're buying insurance. You have documents, you have information about yourself or whoever is the applicant, and then what you do is a business user comes and operates in this system and then generates a decision. This has been the de facto thing, but we all know how great it has been. The story is evident. The success rates are phenomenally bad, unfortunately, and the gaps between translation risk, business user trying to tell something and something happening on the ground, is an everyday reality. The failure rates are high. And worst part, even after spending so much money, resources, it's very difficult to change these systems. And in this particular example of underwriting, what it translates to is a high turnaround time for underwriting, a higher cost, and inconsistencies in what the system does and what it is supposed to do, for example, as compared to your SOP or underwriting guidelines in this case. This prevents the growth flywheel to take off. And it has been something going around for 30 plus years. We all know the solution. The solution is very evident. Get an expert business user, in this case an insurance underwriter, they know everything. They know all the underwriting guidelines, they look at the application and they can create a financial decision very fast. But what is the problem? It's subjective, it's manual, it's expensive, it doesn't scale. You can't find these qualified people. And when we started looking at generative AI, what we said is, okay, how can we solve it? What's different? We created Leo, or our first, Lumic's first AI knowledge worker to solve this problem. And how it works is very simple. It looks at the underwriting guidelines as the starting point, looks at the information that has come in, and combines these two together to create a final decision. And the human moves into a more important role of auditing and intervening when it is required. The first thing that we eliminated is the translation risk. When you want to launch too many products, when you are working with multiple partners, your requirements are going to change, your SOPs will get updated. So you save that translation risk, you can respond faster, and your ability to launch new products becomes way more. And in terms of benefits, as you would expect, you don't have to wait. Minimum underwriters take 30 minutes. This one is way faster because you don't have to wait. And it's also cheaper, more than $2 per case to 20 cents. All that is great. You would have heard these kind of stories over and over again. But more importantly, how it works. So we had to create a verticalized SLM which understands insurance to solve this problem. Why? Because of the multiple reasons. First being proper contextualization. If you ask a generic model what is an agent, it will tell you that even your RHEA, which processes your mutual funds record, or anybody in the world is an agent. They don't know the difference, right? When you are looking for solving specialized problems, you need these verticalized SLMs. The second concept is the control over the data, your data in your control. That's possible because you are running it in your control, in your own environments, in your VPC. Of course, the cost is cheaper. And the latency, you could scale it much better. You also need to run it at a scale in a factory mode. You have to visualize it's not the only knowledge worker that we will build, right? So we had to take care of what is the equivalent of ML ops in this world, right? So for quickly deploying, managing life cycles, basic things like orchestration, we had to create a LiteCone Agentic AI Lifecycle management platform. And then we started building these use cases like Leo, which is the name of the underwriter that we have on top of it. Now, how did we go about it? What were the key things that we had to do to visualize this? The first and the foremost, the starting point is at the bottom, the foundational model. You start from there. Then we took the information that is available around insurance industry in the market. You could replicate it for example, when you are doing for banking, you have to teach it about banking. And based on this verticalized SLM, what you have to create is your enterprise specific SLM. The difference between the two is this one is hyper contextualized to how your organization's DNA is, how it works, right? So your specific SOPs, your data. And then on top of it, you have the whole agent fleet that is running. What we have not done is we are not saying that you need to reinvent everything. Our approach here is you already have machine learning models. Bring them into the framework. So there are agents into the ecosystem which interact with those. But at the same time, for underwriting, we had to create multiple agents which are specialized. For example, the medical agent is specialized at reading medical reports. Similarly, financial, general. So each of them have specific skills and they have the capability to interact with each other to create a solution, right? And then on top of it, you need orchestrators because there are, for example, if you have to get information out of a document, you need not boil the ocean and do it yourself. So there are third-party agents, there are third-party marketplaces from where you could get these generic skills. So the orchestrator decides where to pull that data from. And what you have on top of is a hierarchy of knowledge workers. Why a hierarchy? It's a critical thing to know because similarly, similar to the agents who have smaller niche skills, your business processes are bigger, right? So your underwriting and video verification process together can go and create a new business process, for example, which takes care of application coming in and going all the way until the policy is issued. So you have a hierarchy, and as you go up that hierarchy, the impact that you create in the organization goes up. So what are the key learnings that we realized? We don't need to reinvent everything. When you look at agents, don't look, there is a hierarchy. You have your agent fleet. On top of it, you have a hierarchy of knowledge workers. This is where techies will get interested. I have tried to keep it at conceptual level. It all runs on AWS, Bedrock, SageMaker. But what you have to realize is, this is not the only knowledge worker that my customers are going to deploy. For example, the claims one is coming. We are already working on it, right? So how will you run this factory, right? In order to running this factory, you need multiple components. If you see, there's a vertical SLM on the and at the bottom layer you have, for example, monitoring and observability. These are common skills. Why do you want to reinvent them again and again? Similar to an enterprise firewall, you have an enterprise guardrail. These are the things you cannot do. And then for individual use cases that you put, they could be RAG, they could be agentic, you have layers on the top. So each use case, for example, Leo has its own guardrail, as well as there is, for example, a guardrail at an enterprise level itself. Now, what is our vision? Why we got excited for all of this, right? See, there's an unparalleled scale which is now available to us. Now, in order to leverage this, we have to start visualizing as individual roles, right? So, with that thought process, we built Leo. We realized that there is already a need in the market for ARIS, which is a claims manager. Similarly, RHEA, supposed to take care of relationship management. We all know that, relationship managers don't have time, for example, to meet the long trail of people, right? And the framework allows us to build any knowledge worker in banking, in insurance, and in underwriting. Similar to this, we have built a horizontal agents as well, because we all realize for every use case, there is a need to do, for example, a research that is required, right? So what we thought is, okay, start creating those. And most importantly, there has never been a time when we realized more that we are able to do it for only one reason. We have data, AI, Gen AI understanding, but most importantly, we understand business. If we didn't understand business, it was critical in data science also, but today, when we are trying to build these things, the kind of discussions our teams are having, they are far deeper. We are going deep into understanding how underwriting works. That has become a biggest differentiator. So if you were to take this model, replicate it, I think the focus on business, there was never a more need to do. So with this, I want to announce that we are launching LiteCone and our AI knowledge worker factory. I would like to request I think they are still waiting, but we can open for questions. Happy to take questions meanwhile. Anybody in the house has any questions? Sorry, there's too much light on my face. I'm not able to see, but happy to take questions meanwhile. Please.
To train the model or the small language model, are you just relying on
Check.
RAG, or are you also making use of the knowledge graph that typically get created?
That's an interesting question. That's the first problem that we got into, that your RAG doesn't work properly. So there is no one answer to that question. We have to do both. It's interesting because when we started retrieving information out of RAG, what we realized is it's very linear. So the debate that we were having is how humans think. And how do you mimic it, right? So in a graph, the advantage is you can load data, for example, for all adjoining nodes. So in a way, in a RAG, which is a linear story, it becomes easier to pull out data from the whole adjoining nodes and load it into context. So you can keep on having, it's like when you have an associative memories, you can pull out 5 threads and then decide which one to pull. So yes, to answer your question, I'm sure if you have reached there, you are already working deep into it, but yes, we are using both. Any other questions? Yes, please. No, I can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So like a major problem with all these agentic workflows is that if you have a bunch of agents and the decision goes through one, there's a series of decisions that these agents have to make. You have all these spots that one bad decision is going to send the process into a completely different direction.
Sorry, it's not very audible. I'm so sorry. Not able to hear clearly. Can somebody pass a mic?
All right. Is it better now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that every time an agent is making a decision, there is a chance that the decision is wrong. And if you have a bunch of agents, let's say 5 agents, you have 5 spots of failure. So how do you overcome that?
That's an excellent question. So let's take example of this, right? How do you put something like this in production? Because no system is, and it's not a question of just agents only, right? Anytime when you have to do, how do you build that trust into the system? Because this will make mistakes, right? So we have done 2-3 things. It's all part of the implementation cycle. What we are doing is decide, for example, Leo has guardrails in terms of its operations also. When it's taking a call in terms of risk involved, there is only a certain threshold that you start with that don't take risk beyond this. So it takes a decision, but we have converted it into a recommendation model, and as you would expect, one human in the loop. Second thing what we have done is don't do a big bang. What we realize is there is a whole set of policies with different type of needs around it, right? So keep on perfecting one. And within that also, right, first work on perfecting, let's say your medical underwriting, then your financial underwriting and so on. Because see, agents will make mistakes, even humans make mistakes. I mean, there is no human in this room which would not make a mistake. How do we fix those? One of the fundamental things that we have realized is once you start looking at these things as humans, many of those answers will automatically emerge. So yes, agents would make mistakes. There are technical solutions also. You could run the same thing past 3 agents, take a best and everything, but still there will be mistakes. So have a balance of solutioning mindset around it, that A, how expensive is that mistake, and B, create that explainability loop, because at the end of it, when the user is looking at it, right, the biggest feedbacks come from the user, and there I can share 2 things based on experience. One is implicit feedback, and second is the explicit feedback. Nobody gives explicit feedback. So you have to see, are they clicking, just verifying, not doing anything, so they have verified, you know. So just build on those checks, how much time they are spending on which page, and based on that, you will be able to gather some more information. So with that, I'll take a pause. I want to invite Sundar, Praveen, Shoaib to the stage to mark this occasion, and I want them to share, none of this would have been possible without the support that we have been continuously getting from AWS. This is really path-breaking. This is India's first knowledge worker that we have in action, and this is a moment which we believe will reap benefits multiple number of times, not just for one customer, but for the whole country. Yeah. Can you get a mic? No, they can get a mic.
Can I get a hand mic? Okay. First of all, congratulations to the Lumic team for a fantastic job. I was actually in the room when the first time this concept was being discussed with a customer, coincidentally. And incidentally, I'm just coming from a presentation made by that very customer, Canara HSBC Life, across the hallway. And at that time, this did sound a bit far-fetched, to be honest, right? I mean, it did look like underwriting and so on, these are complex tasks. How are we going to automate it beyond a point? But I'm amazed to see the collaboration that we have had, resulting in the launch of Leo and LiteCones, which will fundamentally alter the way we look at the balance of tech versus human interaction in processes. And that's going to help to reduce errors. It's going to help to innovate faster. It's going to help to improve customer satisfaction and lower the cost per transaction for all the customers that we work with. So congrats again, guys, and hoping to see next year 10 customers of LiteCone coming and speaking at our events. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you so much.
So first and foremost, thanks to Shoaib and the Lumic team for sponsoring this event, getting us all over here. I hope it's been a day of learning and information to all of you over here. This concept, once again, I think I met Shoaib during reInvent and we were beginning to talk about large language models and small language models, and then he said, no, the real big thing is this verticalized SLMs that we want to go after. So great that we are actually, within about 2 months from there, we are actually at a stage where we are launching the product and the solution. I think this is the path ahead, right? Verticalized SLMs, which can actually run on an enterprise environment. The enterprises are happy about their data being secure, it's being run in a manner which they feel comfortable with, and at the end of the day, giving them the advantage and the benefits of what they want from out of LLMs. So good to see LiteCone coming in, and as Sundar said, next year, I think this is going to be a place wherein we want customers over here talking about the business benefits that they were able to achieve out of it. So kudos to you and the team.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you so much. Shoaib, you want to say something?
No, thank you so much. And I think this has been a wonderful partnership. I think we are able to achieve a lot of these things because of the AWS platform. It provides so many services to us, and as Praveen rightly mentioned, we were just discussing this concept almost two months, and then we have been able to achieve this much. That's the power of the platform, and thank you so much for this partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So with that, I'll open for one last question, and then I'll leave the stage for the next one.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah,
I'm
good afternoon.
Wilson. I hope you can see me
Yeah,
at
I
the
can
back.
hear you.
Yeah? Okay. So I'm Wilson. I'm representing Commonwealth Bank, and thanks to AWS for organizing such a wonderful conclave today. I have a very fundamental or basic question. As I was through a lot of sessions today. I can see that most of the orchestrators or foundation models, what we have, are more to do with co-pilot. So does AWS also working into something called autopilot mode? The products which can further level up, raise the bar, and go to, for example, in financial services or insurance products, to level up to go to an autopilot from an co-pilot mode. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's an interesting question. When this technology first came out, when we were ourselves evaluating, that's what we thought. But if you look at it, let's leave the technology behind for a minute. We all agree that there are driverless cars now, right? When the driverless cars first came, what they said is somebody, and in still some places in India you can't still do that, but in some places somebody needs to sit behind the steering wheel, right? So, at least in our mind, every technology goes through that phase when it is assisting and when there is enough user confidence. It's not got to do with the technology, but with how the technology is solutioned with, how the solution is built, how it is implemented. Because as human individuals, when we need to work with somebody, we need to earn their trust. Similarly, our solutions, when they need to go in autopilot, they have to learn their trust. I look at Leo as a human person only. And the reason why I look at it is because then I give this technology all the rooms to make mistakes. And as it is my responsibility to see that it's not an open thing that, my kid is behind a car which creates a havoc on the road. So the technology is already there. There is no doubt in my mind that AWS doesn't have the technology with which you can do this level of automation. You can do much more. It's just that as humans, how much appetite we have and how much guardrails, not the technical guardrails, we are able to build, excuse me, and allow our users to have that trust. For that, there is no other way but to walk the talk, show them, create those handles, show them the results, how explainability, why you are doing what you are doing as part of, for example, and by the way, we have a booth, you can come down to the booth, we can show you how it works. So what we have tried to do is, Leo shows you how it has thought about this. So there is a reasoning page where it tells you that, I looked at this first and then second, third. So what it's trying to do is, rather than building a black box, it's opening it up. So that's the thought process from a co-pilot or an assistant to a autopilot mode, right? And we all know airlines, planes have been having this technology for a long time now. Still, when the times are tough, there is a pilot who's there to help out. So, at least for underwriting, what we are saying is, you don't need an army of people to respond to the needs. With the same team that you have, you can do much more because they move to a role where they are monitoring and auditing what the system is doing. And I think that's a big mindset change. It's not a technology question. As people who are implementing this technology, it's our responsibility to create it in a way so that that trust gets earned in the process. So to answer your question, yes, technology is there today. And if you do the right solutioning, I'm sure within your organization also you will find patch of use cases which can go into an autopilot mode. If not today, you start this journey, next year probably when we meet here, you would definitely have something. But do make a start. This is going to transform everything. So with that, thank you very much. You have been a lovely audience. And we do have more details available. We have a booth, so please stop by. Happy to take questions and share whatever experience we have. Let's hope next year we have much more stories and like AWS team said, more customers standing by our side and sharing their success stories. Thank you so much.